This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
Hello, football fans, and welcome to the Onside Kick. My name is Ricky Widmer, and as always, I'm joined by the Mark Weber.
Dub them E's.
And this podcast, you may not hear it from me, but if you're on YouTube, you may see it. My arms are a little bit sore today, Mark. They're a little bit sore. Too much
They can see the soreness.
Too much working out today. Too much being a bamf at the gym.
Day one of working out.
Day one. Did some back and arms because that's what I believe he wants me to call him Rank Daddy. Mike Rankin wants me to call him.
That's what he says when he's spotting you.
Yeah, that's
Call me
exactly
Rank
what
Daddy.
he says. It's exactly what he says. But yeah, me and Rankin
You're just
went
sitting
to
there,
the
how
gym
does this help me?
Me and him went to the gym today. He kind of showed me the ropes because I am what you would call a noob. I'm a novice when it comes to the whole gym atmosphere because, let's be honest, does it look like I go to the gym often? I do not. But
no, not to cross streams here with basketball and football.
nice Ghostbusters reference.
Right? It's coming out. The new one. Anyways, but I did enjoy your LeBron James reveal where it's just
With the back?
and then you turn around and you're just like, what? I feel like that was your inspiration for I need to start working out.
I think it was. Well, the king has returned, and the king can't look like this. That's what I'm saying. But before we start today's podcast, we're going to be looking at the NFC South, continuing our NFL previews. And we start with some happy banter. But before we get into everything, Mark, it is a sad day for the football world. As earlier today, as we were recording this on Tuesday, we lost a legend today, and that of your 85 Bears, Buddy Ryan.
Yeah. Even though it's summer, I had to bust out a Bears hoodie.
Yeah, you're wearing a hoodie. But today was a cooler day.
It is. It's a little cooler. I actually almost decided to go with, I'm wearing blue socks right now. I almost went blue and orange socks too. Decided I had a little bit more class than that. I didn't want to mix smash my socks here. But, you know, it's too bad because the Chicago Bears really, without Buddy Ryan, would not have had that Super Bowl win. And there's no doubt about that. Buddy Ryan built that team. He built the 46 defense.
Well, I was going to say the revolutionary 46 defense.
He changed everything. Him and Mike Ditka were the perfect combination. They really needed each other to make that work. And as soon as they did not have each other anymore, it all fell apart. So in Chicago, we all absolutely love Buddy Ryan. We all, we give a lot of the name and the appreciation to Ditka, but I think we all kind of know that it was the defense and Buddy Ryan that made it all happen, really. The only time, if I remember correct, the only time in NFL history in a Super Bowl where two coaches were raised up and carried off the field.
Well, because the defense for the Bears raised Buddy up because he was the father of that defense.
Not too often you have basically two head coaches in a way. So yeah, I mean, Chicago fans here and the people in Chicago, we all really embrace that, and we still remember that legacy. We still talk about it today. It's still such a big, storied part of the franchise, of the fans, of, Chicago in general. A city that's had tons and tons of success, unless you count the Cubs. Besides that, tons and tons of success.
We're good this year.
So far, I mean, those injuries are really starting to take a toll.
We'll see.
Really starting to take a toll on the team. There's a lot of success here, but it's interesting how the Chicago Bears, yes, we had pre-Super Bowl success, but we really hang our hats on that one Super Bowl because it was the best defense to ever take the field in all of the NFL.
Well, I think I heard it today. I did not know this coming into today, that in that 85 playoff run, the only time a team scored on that defense was the last quarter of the Super Bowl. That was it.
You just can't beat the best. That's what it comes down to. And it's such an interesting thing with the team too. I mean, you can reference like the Seattle Seahawks, who went in, kicked ass, and now where are they? They're falling. They're still a good team, but they're still falling off a little bit of what they were. You have teams that go one and then nothing all the time. But it's just an interesting situation where you had the Chicago Bears. They were a very good team the season before. They were a fucking amazing team, and then they were still a good team afterwards. But they kicked everybody's asses. They won a Super Bowl, and then that was it.
Well, we're going to gracefully move over from that to the passing of Buddy Ryan, who we've lost a legend today, and there's no way to. There's no way nicely to put it.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone hasn't, I definitely recommend watch the Chicago Bears.
The 30 for 30.
The 30 for 30. Not only because it's great, not only because Mike Singletary in it is great.
And he cried.
And he cries.
That was an emotional moment where he cries.
But just to kind of... It's unfortunate, but you just have to kind of see, even if you just watch the parts with Buddy Ryan, just to see where he's at now. It gives you a very good understanding, not just of the legend, but of really what happened. And it just kind of makes you appreciate life a little bit. I mean, anything like that's going to happen when someone passes away. But really to see what became of the man, who created this legendary defense and where he ended up now. It's unfortunate, but it's definitely something to take note of.
Well, and we are going to now move into the main meat and potatoes of our podcast today. We're previewing the NFC South, and if you're new to a preview podcast here on the Onside Kick, the way we like to do things is we go through each of the teams just a little bit, starting with the worst from last year, going all the way to the division winner, and then at the very end we kind of give our kind of thoughts with where we think who's going to win the division, how many playoff teams. Obviously that can all change though when we get to August in training camp and we actually see the players on the field. But we start with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who finished in last place for the NFC South, and some of the new additions and key losses was they lose Darryl Smith. They lose Henry Melton, I should say. He is now gone. They also lose Tony McDaniels. They do and gain Darryl Smith. They gain Brent Grimes. They gain Robert Ayers coming over from New York. They get to keep Doug Martin, but to me, and I said this in my Bucs preview video, this whole season for the Buccaneers, to me, rides on Jameis Winston. It's kind of the same thing what we talked about with the Titans in the AFC South is just like the Titans, it's all on you. It's all on Mariota. Yeah, they got DeMarco Murray now, but for this Buccaneer team, I want to see what Jameis Winston can do in year 2 because he didn't have that bad of a rookie season.
No, he did pretty well in his rookie season. And it's interesting with the Bucs because they were not a bad team when Lovie Smith came in. And Lovie Smith really, he did okay, but he really didn't get the defense going. The defense was like the strongest part of the team when he came in. And then it just kind of deteriorated a little bit. So they did great on the run game. I mean, Doug Martin kicks ass. It's surprising that the muscle hamster can still do it, but he gets it done. It's with Winston out there, you just want to see that he doesn't have that sophomore slump. You want to see him continue to progress, keep doing well. And then really you look at the draft and what did they do? They went heavy defense. Vernon Hargreaves, that's a huge addition. That's going to be very beneficial. That's going to be very helpful. He's not Jalen Ramsey, but he's not that far away. He was obviously the next best. Just happened that Jalen Ramsey was so above and beyond. But even a guy like Noah Spence, that's going to be a very strong contributor from the get-go. This team, they're not going to be climbing up to the top or anything. They're not going to blow anybody out of the water. But they're not going to be terrible.
I said this in my preview, too, that it's hard. This division's only going to be hard in the sense of who's going to come in last. Because I kind of feel like most people are saying, okay, Panthers are going to repeat. I know this is...
Yeah, Panthers got the division for sure.
This is a division where if you look back, I mean, the Panthers this year and the year before, I believe, were the only times that teams have repeated. Nope, I was wrong. They did it 3 times in a row. But the Panthers are going to win this division. To me, for the Bucs, the way I see it is they're either going to be good enough to be third, or they're just going to be in last place and not able to get past the Falcons and the Saints. But the one thing I will say about the Bucs is, like, and I don't mean this negatively to Buccaneer fans, I don't see them making the playoffs.
No,
it's all
for sure.
about, to me, if I could see maturity out of Jameis Winston and I could see a better season than the rookie year and just a defense that looks more competent under a new head coach, that would be a success for me.
I think the big thing for the two no longer rookie quarterbacks of Marcus Mariota and Jameis Winston, the storyline coming in was that if you got Winston, you were going to succeed right off the bat. You were going to be the better team to begin with. But if you got Mariota, you might not succeed right away, but he would be better long term. So this is the kind of defining moment here where we're going to start to see these players. And yeah, it's only the second year. You got to give some of these guys some time. But we're going to start to see this, and we're going to compare these two because they're forever going to be linked together.
Especially after that first game we saw last year where Mariota came out, boom, like a cannonball out of a cannon, and you had Jameis Winston, who threw 2 touchdowns, 2 INTs, and ended up losing 42-14.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see what they go. Like you mentioned how he's got to be mature. A lot of people were nervous about that maturity. A lot of people weren't sure how he was going to lead a team. 1 year is great, but now with coaching changes, now with everything going on, kind of a more of a fresh approach to this team, he's got to still be that leader. He's got to continue to develop, continue to mature. He needs to show that he is going to be the franchise leader. Because Tampa Bay, I have them, I don't want to get too into my predictions. You guys can find a little bit more about that later. But I have them as one of the bottom teams in the league, probably at the end of 2016. Things can change, but I just don't see things going all that well for the Buccaneers.
Well, and I mean, they're bringing in, they didn't bring in, they promoted, I should say, their offensive-minded offensive coordinator in Dirk Koetter. And the thing with Koetter that you got a rookie head coach. This is a guy who he's been an offensive coordinator in the league with 3 separate teams, the Buccaneers in 2015, the Falcons from 2012 to 2014, and the Jacksonville Jaguars from 2007 to 2011. And this is a guy who's been a head coach in college, made the jump as a coordinator. Now he's finally, 10 years later, a head coach in the NFL. That's another thing to look at with this Buccaneer team. Because it's a rookie head coach, is that going to, usually rookie head coaches don't have the most successful seasons unless you're Pete Carroll.
And things you worry about, too. You worry about if they do poorly. I'm not saying that Jameis Winston's going anywhere. Don't let these words get ahead of what they really mean. But you do have a young guy. If they have one of these top picks, Jameis Winston might get nervous.
Watson?
He might get nervous and say, does he really believe in me? But other things I kind of think about.
Well, that's why they replaced Lovey with Koetter.
Yeah, definitely. I also kind of worried, though, that he wasn't a guy who really saw that much success when in the NFL. His NFL tenure has not been filled with success. It's just kind of been making a lot of lateral movements, and then finally he just got lucky that Lovie Smith got ousted so quickly.
He did work with Matt Ryan in Atlanta.
Yeah, but this was in the kind of tailing down of the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta Falcons haven't been what they used to be. He got to work with, Matt Ryan's a great quarterback. There's no doubt about that. Julio Jones is there, and that's just an amazing thing to get to work with a guy like Julio Jones. But it really was kind of a falling off of the Atlanta Falcons. They have not been, for the last 3 years now, they have not been what they used to be. When Matty Ice was the real deal with that ice in his veins. Not so much anymore. I just wondered about that transition. I do feel like, you have a guy you're promoting from within. There weren't tons and tons of options available to you. But I'm not sure, especially when what happened. Why did Lovie Smith get fired? He did not destroy this team. He did not Pete Carroll this team. Not Pete Carroll. Chip Kelly this team. I got my wrong college coach. He didn't destroy the team. He didn't get rid of personnel or anything like that. The problem that Lovie Smith faced was that the defense went from being pretty good to being pretty okay to bad.
And he's a defensive-minded head coach.
And now you go and say, all right, we're going head on offense because we got this great running back. We got the young quarterback. And then immediately in the draft, your first 2 picks, you're going to go defensive side of the ball. Not that that's a bad thing at all, but I'm just saying it doesn't seem like this team has a clear identity. They're saying we want to be this offense because that's where the strength is. Okay, we're drafting defense. Our defense keeps getting worse. We fired a defensive coach because he let the defense get worse. But we're not going to invest on the coaching side of that as much. I don't know. I just kind of, maybe people are going to get mad at me for saying this, but I just feel like the Buccaneers don't know who the Buccaneers want to be.
Well, and I feel like with Cotter, they've got to come in there because I'm looking Matt Ryan's numbers yardage-wise. He had that great 2012 season with 4,700 yards and 45-46. But if we look at the records, Mark, you kind of hit the nail on the head. That first year, 13, like his first year there in 2012, they were the 13-3 Atlanta Falcons team.
Yeah, they kicked ass.
Then 4-12, 6-10. So that's kind of, I know that he wasn't the head coach, and I know Matt Ryan's numbers were looking at it from Cotter to quarterback, but that kind of right now. But I'm not really excited for this season. You think of a guy like Philbin, who was not too long ago the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. He was successful because he was working with guys like Aaron Rodgers. He's working with Jordy Nelson. He was working with really great weapons and really great pieces that worked very well. No one's doubting that Matt Ryan is a great quarterback. No one's doubting that Julio Jones is one of the best wide receivers in the game. So, those pieces are making a guy look better. I'm nervous with him being the head coach now of the Buccaneers. I'm expecting to see Philbin 2.0 just on a different team that happens to be in Florida. Yeah, and I mean, the one thing, before we move on to the Saints, is there anything with the Bucs that you think we missed or didn't hit on?
I think the most important thing to the Bucs, besides their whole revamping of their kickers this year, which was very important.
They've got Roberto Gallo from Florida State. Jameis's kicker.
You got to reboot your kickers. Kickers are important.
Got to get Jameis's kicker in the second round.
He wanted his guy.
That'll get you a good draft grade from Ricky, by the way.
Yeah,
that's what that'll do.
Kicker. Kickers are important. But no, I mean they did what they needed to do. Doug Martin. Lock the man up. That's only going to help. I would have loved to see more if they could have made a bigger splash, at wide receiver. Because, yes, you get a good running back option. I would have loved to give Jameis Winston a better option to throw the ball to. But they're not in terrible shape. They were trying to fix the defense. The biggest thing for the Buccaneers, it's weird to say it this way, but I think it's the coaching staff. And I think
it's how they're going to click in Cotter's first year.
And I wouldn't be surprised to unfortunately see another chudding of a guy being kicked out soon because I don't think it's a great fit. Maybe. I just don't think it's going to work.
Well, let's move on. We're going to go from now Tampa to New Orleans, some Louisiana. And if we look at some key losses, key additions, some of the losses according to the ESPN free agent tracker, we've got Tim Hightower's no longer there. We've got Marquise Colston is gone. Brandon Browner is gone. Josh Hill is gone, I believe. No, wait, Josh Hill got re-signed. But the big additions, we've got James Laurinaitis coming over he was cut from the, I don't know, I almost said St. Louis, the LA Rams. Then we've got Craig Robinson coming over, linebacker from Cleveland. And the biggest free agent signing for the Saints this season, Coby Fleener coming over from Indianapolis. And the thing I see with this Saints team is you've got Drew Brees, but Drew Brees is kind of getting older. We've got Sean Payton, who's been the head coach since, God, I can't remember when he wasn't the head coach of this team. Oh, yeah, by the way, Nick Fairley is also on this team. The thing that I look at their free agency and their draft, and I go, they got him some weapons. And by him, I mean Drew Brees. They said, you know what? We don't have Jimmy Graham anymore. Let's go get Coby Fleener. Let's go get the guy who, is he an elite tight end in this league? No, but he can be a serviceable number one tight end for you on the field. And then they go out and say, well, you know what? We're going to move away from Marquise Colston. You know what? Colston's not the guy anymore. So what do they do in the draft? They go and hit defense in the first round, but then in the second round, they get a guy like Michael Thomas to come in from Ohio State. So those are two moves right there that I think the Saints were like, you know what? We got to get Drew Brees some younger in the case of Thomas to Colston, but we got to get him also a tight end that he can rely on, like Jimmy Graham, who isn't Jimmy Graham.
I mean, I think that the Saints kind of forgot about how valuable Jimmy Graham was. Not that the Seahawks understood how valuable he was. They didn't use him well enough, but they kind of lost that. I don't think Coby Fleener is really the good answer because people are going to say, yeah, but now he's playing with Drew Brees. But he was just playing with Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck's a fucking great
I don't know if
quarterback.
Andrew Luck's as good as Drew Brees, man.
At the end of their careers, Andrew Luck's going to be better than Drew Brees. There's no doubt about that.
If we're looking, last year, too.
He was hurt.
Andrew Luck wasn't even out there.
Yeah.
So that kind of hurt Coby Fleener in a contract year. But, yeah, I'll go on the side that Drew Brees can make Coby Fleener a better tight end. Or, I'm sorry, we'll go with the Jimmy Graham term, a pass catcher.
Yeah, a better pass catcher. I don't know. My thought on it is I think he'll be good. I mean, I'm not saying he's not good. I'm not saying that Drew Brees can't help, but I just don't think you're going to get Jimmy Graham level or Gronkowski level production out of the guy. Because if he couldn't do that with Andrew Luck, I don't see why he's going to suddenly do it with Drew Brees. Now, the thing about this offense here, or this team, I should say, they scored a shit ton of points last year. They were the best passing attack in the league. They were also the fucking worst defense in the league. They were terrible defensively. Absolutely terrible. They almost let up 30 points a game. That's a joke. You should feel bad about yourself. So getting a guy like Rankins
They also got Von Bell, too.
Of course. Getting these guys to be in the secondary and to be right up front on the line like Rankins, that's going to only help. This team is a team that I feel like is in transition only because you don't go from absolute worst defense to being good enough to really make a run at it, especially when you're playing or in the division you have the best defense in the league last year, or second best if you want to put Von Miller's defense in Denver over them. It's unfortunate because I'm not a Drew Brees fan, Ricky. You know I'm not a Drew Brees fan. I don't like the guy very much. Not as a player. I like him as a player. He's a very talented player. Just didn't like all his comments that he's always talking, and that bugs me. I'm referencing, of course, back with the Bounty Gate things and everything like that. He just never stopped talking, and it bugged me. But anyways, it's unfortunate that Drew Brees is not going to get another chance. He's not going to get another chance to go to another Super Bowl because the team is not going to be good enough, and they're not going to get through this transition in time for Drew Brees to be there.
With Drew Brees and the Saints this year, are they going to win the division?
Nope.
As Patty Kane would say here in Chicago, not a chance, not a chance. However, this is a team that if they can get everything clicking enough, could they get a wild card spot? If you guys have been listening to the Onside Kick for some time, you know my answer to that question is no, they're not going to get a wild card because the NFC North is going to have 3 teams in the playoffs this year and 2 wild cards. So that's going to completely block the Saints from getting into the playoffs this season. But another addition for this team, we talked about the coaching side of it for the Saints, but a big coaching addition was the interim head coach for the Dolphins last year, brought a spark to that team, is now the assistant head coach and tight ends coach for the Saints team in Dan Campbell.
You know, here's the thing about that, and this is
he's an
aside.
assistant, though. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. And he can maybe work with Coby Fleener to be a good weapon for Drew Brees.
But here's my aside on this one. How the hell can you be the assistant head coach
and a tight ends coach?
And a tight ends coach. You're a position coach. You're not the assistant head coach. You can't be because you are a position coach.
What you're saying, assistant coaches can only be coordinators?
You have to be a real fucking coordinator. Yeah. Being a position coach
But he was a head coach last year.
He was, and he did very well with what he had.
That's what I think. And
I just think that it's fucking stupid for you to say, hey, here's this guy. We think he's really good. He only works with tight ends, but he's our assistant coach. That doesn't make any sense. That's like everybody at a bank is the vice president of something. It doesn't fucking make sense. It's just a dumbass title that they give you.
No, from what I think about this Saints team,
I still feel bad for him because he should have won the head coach job in Miami.
No, he should have.
It should have been his.
Well,
but he wasn't going to beat Adam Gase.
Yeah, then your boy Adam Gase doesn't get a job.
Whatever, he can stay in Chicago.
You don't want him. You don't want him to.
He can stay in Chicago. I don't mind.
But you look at their offense because he wouldn't be a defensive coordinator. He would have been the offensive coordinator. And right now
they did not need to fix anything on the offensive side of the ball.
Pete Carmichael's been there since 2009 as their offensive coordinator, but I'm glad you brought up the coordinators because they made a change on the defensive side of the ball.
They had to.
You said their defense ranked pretty fucking bad.
And
in
somehow,
2015, Dennis Allen keeps the job. Well, doesn't keep the job, gets moved up from a defensive assistant to defensive coordinator.
But how the hell does Rob Ryan lead the worst defense in the NFL and then get a job somewhere?
Because of his brother.
Exactly. Yeah. How the hell does that happen? We were just talking about the guy's father and saying good things like that. Now we're going to criticize his sons. But Rob Ryan does not deserve a job.
I'm going to try not to. I'm going to try to refrain and let you get
Rob
all the criticism.
Ryan, I'm from Chicago, so I feel like I can do it. Rob Ryan does not deserve a job in the NFL right now.
Well, we're both from Chicago. You're just a Bears fan.
You're not really from Chicago, Ricky.
I am from Chicago.
You're more from Chicago than I am, actually.
I am.
But at least your address isn't actually in Chicago, but if you cross the street, you're in Chicago.
Well, my mom's grandparents were Chicago. So yeah, I grew up in Chicago.
Kind of. Weird people like to make fun of Illinois politics and Chicago politics, but literally they just kind of this whole area where we record this podcast is Chicago. But only because somebody knew somebody and they wanted it included, so they redrew the lines. Anyways.
All zoning, baby.
Yep, exactly. But yeah, it's just Rob Ryan leads this defense, and they're fucking terrible. And somehow he's going to get his brother to give him a job. I don't know. Is everything going to be fixed? Probably not. This defense is not completely fixed yet. They went to the draft to get not one, but two defensive tackles. They got their safety. They're trying to help out on the offensive side of the ball, too, because like you said, Drew Brees does need some weapons to throw the ball to. Michael Thomas, you know how I feel about Ohio State wide receivers. I love them. Dane Sanzenbacher was a good guy back when he was in Chicago. Just saying. He caught the ball a few times. Caught the ball a few times. But, it's just unfortunate when I look at it and think, Drew Brees, such a great talent, is getting wasted and only going to get himself one Super Bowl ring ever.
Well, and like I said, this season for the Saints, it's going to be all about can the defense be improved because Drew Brees is going to will this team. He's going to will this offense to be good because the offense only goes as far as Drew Brees will take them. But it's got to be the defense that plays a lot better than they did last year. And the way I see the division going is the Panthers are winning the division. Boom, there's my last segment. Sorry, I spoiled it for you, but the Panthers are the division favorite, and then who's going to get second? It's going to be the Saints and the Falcons, and